Welcome to Overwatch. This time we'll be looking over the patch notes for June 14th or version 29650. Two heroes in particular in the spotlight this patch, although the changes have had pretty sweeping effects on what other heroes will be available and what will be played. Let's jump right in. So McCree's nerf is pretty well explored at this point, the Feather Hammer ability taking a major damage hit, dropping each shot from 70 to 45, meaning that you need about 5 shots to land on a target to get a kill. Judging from the reactions on the feeler video I put out, most people find him a lot more fair. The combo is still incredibly dangerous, able to blow up most heroes in the game, but you can't tear down two people in a single fan the hammer, and fans without the flashbang are now vastly less reliable, as they kind of should be. That said, they're also a little bit more frequent due to the reload change, being changed back to reloading more or less normally rather than with a significant delay. Spamming fans into tanks is possible, but certainly far less effective. Personally, I wouldn't mind seeing McCree get a slight change to his damage drop-off just to increase the distance where the drop-off comes into effect a little, but I think he's pretty solid right now. The big thing this patch did was free up other heroes. After seeing a few high-level matches, Reaper swung back into the meta in a really big way, and I doubt that'll change too much. Before, McCree was effectively a better close and medium range option with a decent ultimate. Now Reaper is absolutely the stronger close range pick with an utterly game-changing ultimate. Soldier 76 is also starting to pop up a little more, and we'll talk about him after we've covered the next big target of the patch, Widowmaker. Her base damage was reduced from 15 to 12, meaning at full charge she does 120 damage per shot instead of 150. Headshots were also tweaked to be increased from 2 times damage to 2.5, so basically she does pre-nerf damage still on her headshots. The major change here is Widowmaker's time to kill against a 200 hit point target has dramatically changed. Previously, landing a 150 damage, then at least 50 damage was far easier, needing only about a third of a second to get that second bit of charge and land the kill shot. Now, the follow-up shot has to deal 70 damage and takes over half a second of charge to get there. Basically, taking the first bullet is no longer a death sentence to a Widowmaker who knows how to follow up. Headshotting is still of course incredibly effective, as it should be, but in Overwatch headshots aren't the easiest thing in the world to land reliably. Widowmaker is certainly no longer the dominant presence she was. You basically need your team doing damage to make sure your shots can either finish or wound targets enough to ensure a quick kill. That said, she's excellent at picking at tanks when they're vulnerable, and headshots will always make her an important target. With how easy Widowmaker is as a sniper, semi-automatic rifle, no bullet drop, instant hit scan, so on, this certainly feels a lot fairer. Less well discussed for most people was the change to scoping in and out. Previously this was used to give Widowmaker a little more mobility and a little bit more awareness. The ability to dance between shots was important in any Widow versus Widow duel. Now she's far less mobile once scoped in. I have seen 1 or 2 people experiment with using melee to cancel the scope animation, for example, when you're coming out of it, but it doesn't solve the issue of slowly rescoping. As a result, Widowmaker is less mobile and less lethal. She's easier to counter and pick off. This might force her into being used situationally, which, honestly, is fine. She's a sniper, right? She's meant to be situational. Another big issue she faces is sniping at targets being healed by a Mercy. It is now incredibly punishing not to get a clean 2-shot on heal targets. This means Mercy Pharah combos in particular are a lot more deadly. Do not be surprised to see Justice raining from above far more often than it used to. Which leads us to, well, as I mentioned before, Soldier 76 coming back in a little bit more. Better at mid-range than McCree and one of the few other long-range options outside of Widowmaker, Soldier is certainly going to enjoy this new patch. Considering he's one of the highest skill caps in the game, I'm not complaining about that at all. I'll also briefly touch on the other change, the charge rate of Infrasight. 10% taken off it with a 20% damage nerf on top basically works out as having about a 20-25% decrease in visor uptime, just due to the other sources you get to charge that up. It kinda needed to happen. One of the best ultimates in the game having a quick charge rate did not feel fair, and we'll talk about the other ultimate with a silly charge rate in just a moment. Bug fixes also did pop in, including a couple of map exploits. Very nice to see that coming in. I'd like to see that honestly come in hotfixes as well, just try and get that out as soon as possible so I don't have to deal with Symmetras putting turrets inside walls, because that's obnoxious as hell. One of the bug fixes that made it in, which is actually kind of big, is removing the ability for Mercy to gain ultimate charge off people hitting barriers and ice walls when they're damage amped. I mean, come on, she did not need the extra charge rate. The current rate already is, well, I was gonna say kind of excessive, but it's extremely excessive, and I really do think it needs changing. Right now, every match at pro level, every single fight has Mercy Ultimate ready. Sometimes it even recharges during a particularly long fight. No other support has that level of game swing as a result, and as a result, yeah, Zenyatta's become a fairy tale. Pro-level Mercies seem less concerned with healing during a battle, at least in the first half of the fight, than they are with playing hide and seek, then getting a 4 or 5 man res, and then actually starting the fight properly. What I'd like to see is, well, instead of every battle, let's try and aim for every other battle the Mercy Ultimate is ready. That just seems a lot fairer and a lot more fun. In terms of other heroes, still curious to see where they're going to go with D.Va. Faster ult detonation, for example, could be a thing, more damage maybe, more tankiness maybe instead, and a better defense matrix could all come out. There's lots of different avenues for improving her. Besides, she now actually benefits quite immensely from not being one-shot by a Widowmaker when launching from the back of her mech. Even then, I don't think she's going to have a major presence, but who knows, you could be surprised. Still think Symmetra needs a touch up, by the way, just something a little more interesting than the 25 shield she gives. It's a functional skill, so I get that it's perhaps low priority, but it is unsatisfying and a little bit uninteresting. Lastly, I will touch very briefly on Zenyatta. What I'd like to see on him is honestly just an increase in ultimate charge rate. His healing is not great now, and Transcendence was brought down alongside the large changes to his orb mechanics. Now that he can survive a Widow shot, and Widow might be less prevalent, Zenyatta will certainly be more fun to play at the very least, no more constantly getting picked off the other side of the map. But Zenyatta's tricky. He has incredibly high damage output in the right hands, so it's no surprise that a character that's so punishing to play with such a high skill cap is not immediately picked up by the community. Overall, Reaper, Soldier, Mei, and even Genji and Tracer did very well this patch. Zarya as well is going to be a lot more deadly without McCree to blow her up. Winston will also be an utter nightmare in the pro scene without a hero limit. Torb, interestingly, has also got a little more viable. He's a lot more interesting against Widowmaker now. 50 armor basically invalidates a lot of her body shots in a big way, but she also invalidates a lot of his turret placements. Ain't that pretty cool? I think it's pretty cool. Thanks for watching to the end. I have been Josh, as one voice amongst many, and I'm curious to know what you guys think needs addressing in the coming patches. Mercy's absolutely on the top of my list. Oh, just while doing the wind down and outro, I will comment that apparently the patch has not hit on the consoles yet. The thing with updating on consoles is I believe Blizzard need to pay money to do a console update, so they might hold off for, I don't know, a week or two, make sure there's no bugs, and then just hit all the consoles at once. It's just due to how console patching works, guys. Sorry. Doodles.